All right, everyone. Microphone is working now. I can hear myself. We are good to go. We're going to start things over again and give you more details on that Storm Ready Alert Day. Sorry for the minor inconvenience. Sometimes technology doesn't work as you would hope or expect, and you kind of just have to roll with the punches. But we're here now, and we're going to show you exactly what is expected with our Storm Ready Alert evening and night. Of course, you probably didn't pick up much because you couldn't hear me in that last stream. But let's get rolling right into it here for our Storm Ready Alert night. It's not really a day because most of it is going to occur after sunset, which has already happened, but a thunderstorm risk is going to be with us across our southern and in some cases central communities with a hail threat. Hail will be the main risk with any of these storms. Freezing rain and accumulating ice will be possible further to the north, especially north of M46 and more so north of US 10. But north of M46 in towards that M46 US 10 corridor, we are potentially going to see no ice or some ice. It's north of US 10 that we have the greatest risk of a freezing rain ice accumulation, and that would come with power outages, potentially, as the winds strengthen. Some gusts could be 20 to 35 miles per hour tonight, and when you combine that with the potential of a quarter to maybe half of an inch of ice in some spots, that would definitely lead to some power outage risk and also impact to travel where we have some of that ice occurring. We have our ice storm warning in the darker purple. This is for Roscommon and Ogama counties. This begins at 8 p.m. tonight and will end at 5 p.m. tomorrow. And this is where we could see that quarter to maybe upwards of half of an inch, closer to about 4/10 to maybe half of an inch of ice. The rest of the area, especially as we go towards US 10, which I'll draw that in here right now. US 10 is about right in here. We are expecting north of US 10, so north of that line that I just drew, so Midland up towards Billings, in towards Clare, as well as Gladwin. We are expecting 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch of ice, and then south of this line, so Saginaw, Tuscola, as well as portions of Huron County, we are talking about more of a glaze to 1/10 of an inch. But our southern communities, that is one that we are going to watch very closely, because of the potential that there could be no ice here. If it's too warm, if we don't have temperatures that are 32 degrees or colder, we would see less of an ice threat and more of a heavy rain to thunderstorm threat. So if you're 35, 36 degrees when you wake up and start your day tomorrow, or going throughout the overnight, you would have less of an ice risk, and that includes Gratiot, Saginaw, Midland, Bay, as well as Tuscola, Sanilac, and Huron counties that I have circled. Now, if you're outside of that, of course, Isabella towards Clare, Gladwin, Aranac, as well as portions of Roscommon, Ogama, Iosco counties, we are going to have much more ice expected here of 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch. And then, of course, when you get into our northern communities, especially Roscommon, Ogama counties, we could have that 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch of ice accumulating out there on the trees and also power lines. So a very fluid and dynamic thing that we are going to be watching here, because some of you that are in a winter weather advisory, you may see no ice at all. You may see upwards of 1/10 of an inch. And then as you go north of US 10, you are expected to have ice. There's less of a chance that it would be no ice, and we would be talking about a much more significant impact and threat because of that ice potential. So very impactful weather that we are likely going to be seeing here from this ice, and also our severe weather risk that we are very much tracking right now. There are some severe storms over Lake Michigan that we are keeping a very close eye on. You may not think severe weather, we're in the 30s and 40s. How exactly is that going to happen? Well, a lot of the energy is not at the surface. It's actually above our colder surface temperatures. So we're in the 30s and 40s right now. Above the surface, it's actually warmer, and then it gets colder. So there is a pocket of energy that is, as you go well into the atmosphere, a few thousand feet up, you get into a pocket of energy that these storms are going to be able to feed off of, and that is going to lead to more of a hail threat, because those storms, it will have an updraft in those colder temperatures. It will allow for that hail risk and hail, those hail stones to develop and then fall out of these storms, melting a little bit before they get to the ground, but still could be a significant risk of hail with any of those storms that are able to develop. And you can see some of those storms already happening right here across Lake Michigan. There's also a massive And that is a supercell thunderstorm. That is not a look on radar you ever want to see. That's happening just to the south of Chicago, and that is likely producing a tornado as we speak, with a much more significant threat of damaging winds, tornadoes, and hail out of these storms. And then, of course, these storms that are over Lake Michigan, this is more of a hail risk, and these are the ones that are going to be sliding towards us over the next several hours. So those are the ones we are watching very closely, and that is going to be our most significant threat. Hail right here in the middle, that's our main risk for hailstones up to 2 inches. That would be golf ball sized hail. You know, of course, you could have some half-dollar size, maybe even head egg sized hail, ping pong sized hailstones, but the main risk is going to be that. The tornado threat is more so down near Interstate 94, Kalamazoo over towards Detroit, so we are not really looking for that risk or that threat here in our area. Just a bit too cold for that. It's in the 60s to around 70 down there, as opposed to the 30s and 40s around here. There could be a isolated wind threat, but I would say the wind risk is going to be a lot higher to the south, where we have some of those warmer temperatures, 50s, 60s, and also around 70. We're also watching for a flood threat, although that risk has gone down quite a bit. We are only expecting out of this storm system maybe upwards of 1 inch to 1.5 inches, and that would limit our flood threat. But it's something we're watching out for very closely and very carefully. That Storm Ready Alert Day continues into tomorrow morning. It will end in the afternoon and evening as the storm system rolls its way on out, and we see less of a threat from that icy and also rainy mix. We get a day to recover, a day of a break on Thursday, only at 41 under partly cloudy skies. We're pretty much done for now with the springtime temperatures that we got to enjoy the last several days, because we're back into the 40s, 30s, even 20s for our high temperatures. We are expecting some rain and snow and an accumulating snowfall on Friday, then snow with an icy mix potentially late Saturday into our Sunday, with snow continuing into Monday. So hopefully you didn't put the snow gear away just yet, because we are all going to need it to clear ourselves out of some of this accumulating snowfall coming up this weekend into early next week. Going to be a very active stretch here. So one thing that I will do is I'm going to actually put up what I expect to happen here tonight, and we're going to use our ice model forecast just to give you an idea of what is likely going to occur. So as you can see, we have the highest threat of ice, 1/10 to 1/4, maybe even upwards of 1/2 inch north of US 10, but especially as you get towards M55 in towards Clare, Gladwin, and Aranet counties. Further to the south, it's a glaze to 1/10 inch. That could happen M46 up towards US 10, so that includes Mount Pleasant, Midland, Bay City, Alma, Saginaw, Carroll, Bad Axe, Sandusky. But in that circled region, there could be zero ice. It's really going to depend on the temperatures and if they are able to get cold enough. Some of the models hinting at not cold enough here, so we may have to limit that overall mention and threat of ice. But then, of course, as we go further to the south, so I would say M46 down here through Interstate 69, up through M46 as well, and maybe even stretching into the thumb. This is where our severe weather risk is going to be highest. So I'll put that here just with a thunderstorm icon, as we are expecting thunderstorms with the potential of hail to occur right in here, right in this vicinity, because we are going to be too warm for ice. So right here, right where I circled that region, we have more of a thunderstorm threat. Alma, Owasso, Chesaning, Saginaw, Carroll, towards Sandusky, Lapeer, Flint, all going to be under that thunderstorm risk this evening and also tonight, with the potential of damaging winds. To a lesser extent, the main risk will be hailstones, potentially 1/4 to even golf ball size, and that could definitely do some damage. So if you have a garage, if you have a way to get the car underneath, something to keep it sheltered and keep it away from any of that hail potential, I would recommend definitely doing so, because we are expecting the potential of some serious hail here. So as we mentioned, further north that you go, the higher the ice threat will be. In the middle region, the middle ground, that's going to kind of be that battleground of whether it's ice or some thunderstorms. M46 towards US 10, then south of M46 closer to Interstate 69. No ice expected, more of a heavy rain, thunderstorm, and severe weather threat. The severe weather risk, it's mainly going to be hail. Could see some strong gusty winds out of these storms, but that risk is pretty minimal just because of how cold it is right now, and the tornado threat is a lot higher to our south. south. We are not expecting any tornadoes here, but if you have any family or friends that live down near Interstate 94, so Ann Arbor towards Detroit, towards Battle Creek, Marshall, Jackson, Kalamazoo, and Point South, that includes some of the hardest areas from the storms and tornadoes last Friday. They could be under the gun for another threat of tornadoes here this evening and tonight. So if you have any friends or family down there, make sure you are alerting them and keeping up with what could be happening down there as well. So very complex and convoluted look to the map, because we're talking about severe weather and ice all in one breath and all in one go around. But the risk is there for all of us to see something impactful here this evening, whether that's severe thunderstorms, heavy rain, thunder and lightning, hail, or if you go further to the north, it's freezing rain. You could even have some freezing rain thunder. You know, we talk about thunder snow, but thunder freezing rain, thunder sleet could happen off to the north, because we are going to have a very supportive atmosphere for thunderstorms, thunder and lightning. But if you're too cold, of course, you're going to have rain that freezes at the ground when it's 30, 31, 32 degrees, and we have that higher ice expectation north of US 10 into Clare, Gladwin, Aranac, Iosco, Ogemaw, and also Roscommon counties. And you could even have some thunder and lightning with that. But the hail risk and the severe weather threat looks pretty minimal further off to the north and near you. So we'll continue to update you guys as we go forward in time. Of course, you know, the threat of severe thunderstorm warnings is there. So any of those warnings will, of course, be brought to your attention on our Facebook and also scrolling on our various channels, Fox, NBC, and also the CW. Just be weather aware this evening and tonight. Know that if you live north of Interstate 69, you may run into some ice, especially north of US 10 in those counties that I mentioned just a moment ago. If you live around M46, especially towards Interstate 69, no worries or concern about ice, but the threat of hail will go up as a result, and also some of those thunderstorms with very heavy rainfall. So if you live in a flood-prone area, you may have some low standing water when you wake up and start your day tomorrow.